Revolutionary greetings, everyone. We meet again to discuss general questions pertaining to the Zimbabwe exemption permits. We agreed that every Friday and a Monday we come live to respond to your questions. Please post your questions in the comment section so that we start our discussion. While you are still joining and sending in your questions. We had promised that on the 10th of November, we were going to be with the acting deputy director in the Department of Home Affairs. I'm sure some of you have already seen the video that we posted where the deputy director was making a presentation responding to the questions that were put to him. You also listened or watched the video where we made a presentation and asked the questions you have said we should ask. We are told, though, that the volume or sound system in the video of the deputy director is not very clear. So some people seem not to understand what he was saying. Just to summarize for you, if you are one of those that is struggling to get what is he was saying. In summary, he said because there is a court case, which I think is coming up on the 28th of November 2022. He said he cannot respond to those questions because, in their view, those are sub judice, so they can't speak to issues in public. Of course, we were worried why they could not respond to simple questions like how to apply for a waiver, which, in our view, are purely administrative. But he said they will not be able to respond to those questions and encouraged those that have questions to put them in writing. He referred to the email that you have, zepinquiries.gov.za. He says everyone who has a question must write those questions down and send to the email. We indicated to him that people are not receiving any responses, particularly on the question of people writing emails to make a representation to the Department of Home Affairs. As per our advice, we did say to him that people are not receiving responses, but he says people have been responded to. Unfortunately, on our part, the comments that we always get is that people write emails and no one replies. But yesterday he was saying they do respond to people that write to them, but we indicated to him that people are not responding. I shared with him a message that we sent to the Director General on the 5th of January 2022. On the 5th of January, we had written on behalf of the teachers, and because when we started the year, we're having challenges with what is called the South African Council of Educators certificate. So we wrote to the Director General to say, please give us clarity on how we should proceed on this because we're having challenges. The Director General did not respond at that time. That was on the 5th of January. So he indicated to the acting deputy director to say, you are not responding. On the 5th of January, we wrote, there was no response. And again, we indicated to him that on the 14th of September 2022, we wrote to the Director General again asking him and his office to clarify on how a domestic worker should apply for a waiver or to move to mainstream visa, because in terms of the Immigration Act, it is not clear. Again, our correspondence was not responded to. We then shared with him, you remember when we did that interview, a program called The Nation on ENCA, where we asked the spokesperson to the minister to clarify on how we should assist the people to apply for a waiver. Again, we did not receive an answer. I met Sia Koza, who was the spokesperson of the minister. I asked him, as I reported in this YouTube channel, he linked me up with the people that the minister has put together, who are the task team, who are adjudicating the applications. After 2 weeks, when I went back to him, he had said he was going to check, but thereafter, we didn't have any response. So we're raising all these questions to the Deputy Director General to say we want to comply with the decision of the South African Cabinet in terms of people applying, but we are stuck in terms of the clarity. Again, he says people should put in writing. We then agreed that because questions have been written to them, the next stage is to try to have a physical meeting with them in their offices to also understand, because we seem not to understand why such a clarity cannot be given, because we don't understand why the minister will say people are being misled by lawyers by not applying. When we then ask these questions, we are not getting any answers. Then the court case is thrown into our face. We think that is not fair in our view. Of course, as the Zimbabwe community in South Africa, as well as we have explained previously, that we did not go to court, but those that went to court, it is their right. What we ourselves need is clarity, so that we assist people in our community who are holders of the Zimbabwe exemption permits for them to apply. Comrade MP Ram writes, Comrade Mabena, if I may ask, why are you not going directly to DG, who is head of administration, but ask the DG? I personally phoned, I've got his cell phone number, I phoned the DG. I spoke to him on his cell phone. He said, Comrade Mabena, I understand you. Kindly send me an email, put all your issues in an email. We did in the office. We sent him an email. He did not respond. We sent him on WhatsApp. We sent him on email. He did not respond. Now he's not picking up our calls. So that's the challenge that we have, because I had called him specifically. I spoke to him on the phone. I think it was early this year. He said he understood what I was raising, and then asked us to put it in writing so that they were going to respond in writing. They did not respond. That's the challenge that we have. Comrade Maxwell Tibaringire says the DHA does not answer emails. I SMS that man, Mr. Yusuf, he ignored me. Yes, it was Mr. Yusuf, and we told him that the people that we interact with, they say they are not being responded to, but he says they are responding, and that becomes difficult on our part. Comrade Janet Spanda says, mina angingatholi impendulo ngaphinda lutho. That's the issue that we are struggling with, the Comrade Janet Sibanda. And Comrade Atma Dube says, Mr. Mabena, please try to go to the offices if possible, or they are waiting for the outcome of the court case. You can't just walk in someone's office without an appointment, but we will try to get a physical meeting with them in their offices. Maybe because yesterday it was an open public meeting, so to speak. Maybe that's why they didn't want to respond. But we are worried because we are chasing against the time. So that's the and then Comrade like said is Mukono Roswi, morning, which link is correct to use to apply for a waiver? I'm just explaining this, and I'm explaining this, I think, for the 50th time. Comrade Black said is that I cannot assist you with a waiver other than you to Google the website of VFS. I think you'll find the link there. Comrade Ma says, Yabuzwa Mtungwa, please make an appointment. Time is not favoring us. We are working on that. Then while you are writing your questions, then there's the issue of repatriation. If you, unfortunately, the comrade who recorded my presentation yesterday, he did cut some other parts, so you missed in what we were saying in the main. Then comrade KG says, Mtungwa, thank you. Don't forget our outside of this platform. Comrade, I'll get back to you. If you push me this way, I will end up not coming. I know I have a diary. I know that I said I'll contact you, but if you press hard, I will end up withdrawing. Comrade John Baba, Baba says, I want to go back home. I want my provident fund. We said we will be meeting the Department of Labor on those issues. I said that the International Labour Organization is also assisting us, and the trade unions in South Africa are assisting us so that every worker receive what is due to them. So we are certainly working on that. And then Comrade Maxwell Tibaringere says, you did extremely well, Mr. Mapena. Also, the point you raised about those who surrendered fraudulent IDs and Aslam now damned. Thank you so much. No, we appreciate Comrade Maxwell. And Comrade Janet Spanda says, I have replied to the emails and applied for the waiver until today. No response is very frustrating me. Yeah, we're concerned indeed. Comrade Selma Merindlov says, morning, Mr. Mapena. Thank you so much for all the information you are giving us. We appreciate, Comrade. Kenneth Ndlovu, Comrade says, hello, Mapena. Uyibeke yazwakala, siyabonga kakhulu. We appreciate Comrade Kenneth Ndlovu. Comrade MP Ram says, Comrade, I'm curious. I see that you are trying to work on a solution here. What about SA consider charging Zimbabweans movement taxes for being in SA? I've never. we are all paying taxes. If you buy bread at ShopRite, you are paying. You are paying tax. Anything that you buy. This is why when you get to the port, if you are visiting, you claim your tax from what's this tax board in South Africa? You claim your tax at the port, your monies, if you are going back to Zimbabwe, those who come and visit. I've seen people doing so that are not resident in South Africa, but they come and visit. Yeah, the other point that I wanted to raise, which ourselves we don't have much information on it. Comrade Kumdani Ngwenya says, let's say it's South Africans are in Zimbabwe. Do you think they were going to get permits with the ZANU government? Please think even Ndebele, they don't get everything. Unfortunately, I'm not a prophet, Comrade Kumbulani Ngwenya, so I can't predict what predict what might happen. Comrade Kenneth Love says, I like your smile if things are better. Comrade Dungenzani, Comrade Kenneth Love. Right. The point that I'm raising is we do not have enough information about those that want to be repatriated back to Zimbabwe. If you listen to the video that we recorded yesterday, where I was making a presentation, I was saying ourselves, we are still processing this thing of repatriation because what we know in the main is that the holders of Zimbabwe exemption permits are requesting the South African government to renew their permits. That's what we know. And if assuming the government of South Africa were to say it is renewing these permits for the next 3 years, or it is giving people permanent residence permit, no one has come to us to say, I want to be repatriated, I'm struggling, I want to go back. So That's the issue that we are still trying to process, because unless, of course, where it is very clear that there's not going to be a renewal of permits, if government is not going to change its stance. Yes, we understand that people have no choice but to go back to Zimbabwe, and they will have to be assisted. So we have taken a position to say we think there's still an opportunity for the South African government to review its decision and renew the permits. As I said also in the presentation yesterday, which I also said in this YouTube channel, that the issue is that South Africans are worried more about the criminality, crime, which in the main, if crime is committed by an undocumented person, you can't trace that person because they have no fingerprints. But in respect to holders of ZEP, they have their fingerprints. So this is why we've not paid attention to those that, excuse me, this is why we've not paid attention to those that want to go back, because our understanding is that those who be saying they want to go back is because they think there's no any room to negotiate for the renewal of the permits. That we understand, but we believe ourselves that there is still an opportunity for the South African government to review its decision in respect of the 178,000 holders of ZEP. And that number is now far less than what it was in 2017 when people applied. So, but we are open to hear from you the question around repatriation. So at the conference yesterday, I said we are still processing this issue, because at the back of our minds is that if permits are renewed, people will not go back, or they will simply go back visiting and so forth. But we were not yet in a crisis where people are saying we are going to lose our properties and so forth. Only in March, April, that's where we think we can, if then it's clear that by April there's no change from the government side, South African government side, where we then begin to say, how do we assist those who are unable to move to other visas to carry their properties to move to Zimbabwe? But at this stage, we do think that the ANC conference might come up with a different proposal. That's what we believe. And most of you go to church, and every day you read Ephesians. Is it Ephesians chapter 13? Is it? I've forgotten that verse, which says, "Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of unseen." So I know that most of you pray, you go to church, so you still have faith that there might be a change of position from the South Africans. So, but if you do have challenges in terms of you want to go back to Zimbabwe, we are open to hear your story, so that we begin to process that. But for now, our preoccupation is the renewal of the permits. And also, this is why we're chasing the issue of waivers, because if it is clarified that people of low skill are able to apply for waivers, and they will be granted, so that means the people can then be able to move to other visas. So it's a question of either renewing of the permits or assisting under special circumstances those that are holders of ZEP who have proved that they are working to move to other visas. That is our preoccupation. Uh, uh, Comrade Kenneth Ndlovu says, umbuzo wami uthi kufuneka thina abalama ZP holders kuphela makubotshwa abangaziwayo abadingeki kunzima Mabhena. Yeah, that's very sad. Comrade Alice Moyo says, thanks Mr. Mabhena, we really appreciate your work. Keep it up, we appreciate. Comrade Morupi Itabeleng says, thank you, Comrade. We really appreciate. The pleasure is mine, Chief. Comrade Admire Dube says, repatriation not an option for now, Mtungu. There is currently inhabitable. Comrade Zanesho Mkandla says, thanks, Mr. Mabhena, siyabonga ukusimela lokusincezelela kuhle. Comrade Jabulani, igama lakho maliphele lithi Jabulani Senda. Sender, Comrade Mabena, we appreciate your good work. Please keep it up. Please, what was the DG's reply on how and what should one write on the issue of waivers? The simple question, Comrade Sender, to, uh, by the way, Bishop Sender is my bishop, and I'm sure maybe you are from that family in Kwatemba, the Sender family in Kwatemba. What the DG says, Deputy Director says, is that the question that we're asking to say, how does one apply for a waiver if there are people of low skill, for example, domestic work? We should put it in writing, but we have been writing to them. We have not received any response, and we're hoping that yesterday was going to answer, but he says we should write. So we are trying to get a meeting in his office and see if they will be able to assist with all these answers. Thank you so much, all of you, for taking your time to participate in this platform. We really appreciate that you continue to share our videos. We see that many people are following the videos. Please keep your questions coming. We will indeed find time over the weekend to respond to your questions. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel. I've realized that many people watch, but they do not subscribe. I think in the month of October, with the over 87,000 people watching, but they are not subscribing. So please subscribe so that you don't lose any information that you might need. Otherwise, have a great weekend. Enjoy with your families. We love you all of you. Stay blessed. Goodbye.